It's never too early or too late to talk about the Super Bowl, guys. I want to get your reaction. Obviously, Super Bowl taking place. Kansas City was looking for the three-peat. Didn't happen. Philadelphia came in and absolutely dominated the game, so much to the point that I shut it off. I stayed up and watched. At halftime, I was pretty much done with the commercials, the halftime show, everything. It was clearly a Philadelphia game, and they just had a masterful game plan. Got it done. Jalen Hurts, who I thought would win the MVP if Philadelphia got it. It was either going to be him or Saquon Barkley, but he did an amazing job. But now the attention turns towards next season because, as we all know, the NFL season is year round. They are already unveiling their schedule for next year. We're talking about Ireland. We're talking about Spain, first time Dublin, Madrid. And Kate was so excited when they announced they're going to Melbourne, Australia in 2026. The LA Rams will be heading down under. But what was your guys' takeaway from Singapore and England of the Super Bowl? Was it a big success as it was in the States?
Always is over here. It's just growing and growing. We've talked about it many a time, haven't we, on this sporting planet? It's just one of those beasts that's just getting better and
Yeah.
better and bigger as well. In fact, one of our British commentators, he went viral for one of the calls that he made during that Super Bowl. It was the Cooper DeJean touchdown, where he
Oh,
was
yeah.
that incredible one where he picked off Patrick Mahomes, wasn't it?
On his birthday. He's a
On
rookie.
his
It's on his
birthday.
birthday. Yeah.
Exactly that. That one went viral, and that's a British commentator, and
Yeah.
so, there's a part of me just thinks, "We're coming up behind you, us Brits, and we're getting into this sport, and we're gonna take it over." But, yeah, it's always popular over here.
I was just wondering, Todd, is it good for the sport that the Eagles won and the Chiefs just didn't continue this runaway championship so they continue to win?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question, Edward. I think there was a little bit of a sense of, do we have Kansas City fatigue with the
Mm.
Kelseys and Patrick Mahomes and Taylor Swift mania and all that stuff? And I think people maybe were starting to get a little bit of fatigued on that. And I think Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, the underdog, they haven't won it since 2018. I think there was just a really gravitational pull towards the Eagles as being the team that could beat Kansas City because Kansas City has the best player in the NFL right now, Patrick Mahomes, no question about it. But as a team, I think the Philadelphia Eagles were the better team, and their roster was a little more talented. And the addition of Saquon Barkley, their defense was a difference maker, and being able to contain Patrick Mahomes, which no one else was able to do the prior 18 weeks, I think that was the big story. But I just think it was a great spectacle. It was too bad that it was a blowout. Fox was telecasting it, broadcasting it in the States, and I think their ratings were still good, but it would have been a lot better. Obviously, it had gone to overtime or it came down to a one-score finish, but good for Philadelphia, and they celebrated in typical Philadelphia fashion, just went absolutely ballistic the day after or that night.
A few highlights on the Asia sporting front. Congratulations to the USA's Angel Yin, who won the Honda LPGA Thailand event. Now, you might remember Stacey Lewis, I think, on one of the previous episodes telling us that it was one of the marquee events, the LPGA outside of the USA. Well, 72 of the world's best golfers competed there in Thailand for $1.7 million. Yin started the final round with a 5-shot lead and proceeded to card a 7 under 65. So she finished on 28 under par, which is pretty decent. Not surprisingly, a new 72-hole tournament record. That was set in 2022. So it was her second LPGA title. And the next LPGA event, that's one of the reasons why I brought it up, is happening right here in Singapore this week. Hopefully the weather holds out because it has been raining every single day. Australia's Hannah Green is the defending champion. And I'm trying to get an interview with some of the ladies who are down here for that event. So many big names here. So stay tuned. Hopefully I can have a chat with a couple of them.
Okay. Well, as you can imagine, in Europe, it's been pretty busy. And this is going to be a pacey roundup. We've
Okay.
got the Six Nations. That has already started. We'll have more on that later. But in Europe, when it comes to the football or the soccer, we are truly underway in terms of this sort of second half of the season. Liverpool are currently 11 points clear. Looks like they're going to run away with it and win this Premier League this season. Bayern Munich, likewise, are 8 points clear of Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga, but it's close in Spain between Barcelona and Real Madrid. Only goal difference separates those two at the top. But Atletico Madrid are just a point behind. And here is a question for you both. Celtic, well, they are top of the Scottish Premiership. They lost last weekend, as did Rangers, their nearest rivals. When was the last time that happened, do you think? Anyone? Anyone have an idea?
Can't remember it
Ooh.
happening anytime recently, that's for sure.
Doesn't tend to happen very often. You've got to go back 7 years for the last
Oh,
time
wow.
both of those teams lost in the same sort of game week of a
Right.
of a league. Celtic lost 2-1 at Hibs, whereas Rangers lost at home to St Mirren, and it led to the sacking of Philippe Clement, the Rangers boss. And now they have turned to their former midfielder and former captain, Barry Ferguson, to take over as the interim manager. He's won 15 titles at the club. So, yeah, that is a pretty interesting scenario of what's happened in Scotland.
On the subject of football, actually, because I've pretty much stopped watching the Premier League. It doesn't exist for me anymore after Arsenal have again capitulated. I tell you, every time Liverpool drops some points and Arsenal give you a bit of hope and you think, okay, the title challenge is back on. They go and lose to West Ham. Anyway, moving on. I do have to say, in this part of the world, one of the greatest stories this season has been Kaoru Mitoma. Now, I think it was a couple of seasons ago where he had a real breakout season and then he got injured and he's really just come back and hit his stride again. This season, 7 goals, 3 assists in the Premier League. And he's also now the highest scoring Japanese player in Premier League history. He's moved clear of Shinji Okazaki, that Leicester City striker. But no disrespect to Okazaki, he kind of came off the bench a lot in that Leicester season. Mitoma is one of, if not the stars for Brighton and one of these stars in the Premier League as well. And it's no surprise that he was the subject of a £90 million bid by Al Nassr to sign him in the summer. But what I do love about it, and I think we touched on this when we talked about Shohei Ohtani bringing Japanese attention to baseball, is how much he has just brought Japanese eyes to the Premier League once again. They've obviously had Japanese players in the past. They've had the likes of Inamoto. I mentioned Okazaki as well. But I don't think anybody's really captured the attention as much as Mitoma, because he's just such a fantastic player. He's not a great Japanese player. He's a great footballer. He's got a fantastic goal recently. And I think the most recent game they played, his touch, when he brought it down off the sky and kind of landed on the sixpence on his boot, was absolutely incredible. And they actually did, and this goes to show just how popular Brighton have become in Japan, how much they know that they have that popularity now. They had a preseason tour there last year, which they probably never would have considered before Mitoma came. So what Son Heung-min has done for South Korea over at Spurs, I feel like Mitoma is doing the same for Japan at Brighton at the moment.
Well, Brighton, of course, looking to get into Europe for next season. They're not that far off the Champions League places as it stands. And talking of that tournament, well, Real Madrid beat Manchester City, which was City's earliest exit for 12 years. Bruges beat Atalanta from Italy, where all 3 of the sides competing in the playoff phase, that's AC Milan, Atalanta and Juventus, all went out, not without plenty of controversies, though, as Theo Hernandez's red card and a public spat between the Atalanta manager, Gian Piero Gasparini, and the Nigerian star player, Ademola Lookman, over a missed penalty. Goodness me, that was drama in itself. The last 16 matches start on the 4th of March, and there are some great matches. There is a German affair between Bayern Munich and Bayer Leverkusen, a Madrid derby between Real and Atletico. It's France versus England between PSG and Liverpool. PSG, by the way, winning their playoff on a 10-0 aggregate against French side Brest. And we also have a rematch of Benfica versus Barcelona. That's a tie that produced 9 goals the last time that they met. And your Arsenal team, Ed, have PSV Eindhoven to look forward to.
Well, yeah, and to rub salt into the wounds, this is an Arsenal side that has no forward and didn't sign anyone in the January transfer window. PSV have just signed the next Arsenal forward, who will probably now score against us in Lucas Perez. So fantastic.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Just a reminder, in between episodes, you can keep up to date with all the global sports news on our social channels and YouTube page, including full-length interviews with all of our guests. Give us a follow, subscribe, and share with all your friends and family.